Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Tulsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast presented to you by Sadistic Penguin Studios. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-hosts, Tony the Sugar Baggy Burt. How you doing, Mr. Burt?
Doing good. Already feel better since you've hit record. Feel great.
Awesome.
It's weird how that happens, actually. Plot twist.
Today we got a kind of a cool show, man. And since it was St. Patrick's Day, we're going to go through the original Leprechaun films. And man, I rewatched them and Jesus Christ. Talk about a train wreck. But we're going to go into those films later on. So we'll dive in. We'll talk a little bit about the newer ones. Not as much, but we're talking about the original ones today. But we got some big news. Our channel just turned 2 years old. That's Sadistic Penguin Studios on YouTube, turned 2 years old since we started it, which I thought was pretty cool. And I mean, we're already 714 subscribers now. So chugging along, man. Chugging along.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. In 2 years, it flies by like this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When you really think about it, I mean, I've almost known you. We've met like almost 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like time is moving.
It's actually more than 3. So I think we
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy stuff. Time does fly by. And like my friend told me, once you turn 21, it goes downhill after that.
He wasn't wrong. No, well, let's hope not. I still have hope that we're gonna have this big, huge trajectory here, my friend.
Yeah, last week was a fun show. We had Sam Reeves on from the Ass Cast, or King Ass himself. We got some good feedback. I got a lot of people who don't usually watch the show. They tuned in to see Sam, and they actually loved his little song and like our little thing about the worst actors. I was getting a lot of compliments on the idea for it. But man, all the credit goes to Sam on that one. He brought up that idea, and why not bring him on to showcase his idea?
Yeah, I mean that's why I love this show. Probably, I mean I don't have to say probably. I love this is the most fun I've ever had doing a podcast because you could come call any movie, any play, and I'm ready. Where I have never felt that before. Where before when I've done things, it was always in a little box of what you only could pick from. Where you're like, let's do Leprechaun, and I'm like, Leprechaun, yes, let's do Leprechaun, or let's do the worst movies of this actor, and I'm like, well, there's just so many millions of actors we could pick from, so pick someone, and that's what's cool. It's not like, no, we only could do this one actor. It's like that's what was cool with Sam. Came up with a great idea. In my head, what was great is in my head I had him picking Pacino, but he went the other way, De Niro. So it was a great pick. So I can't wait till we do it again.
The great Dunkachino.
Dunkachino, yes.
Dunkachino, man.
Yes.
But with that, Tone, let's pull into our first segment of what we've been watching, my friend.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
So what were you watching this week, my guy?
What have I been watching this week? Two things I've been watching this week is I'll start with I finished up. Well, I got one more episode, the final of the season 5 of Harley Quinn, but I've made it through the whole entire series, and I really like this a lot. And I'm not we've talked about it. I'm not a huge superhero guy, but I have learned so much about so many different superheroes in the DC world that I can definitely say now that I like DC, just based upon this cartoon right here. The portrayal of Alan Tudyk doing Joker is really, really amazing. Not, of course, Mark Hamill has done just a great job, and others have done a great job, but for a new take, really awesome. Lake Bell and Kaylee Kuko do the main two voices of Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. But like Bane in this television show is kind of treated as more humorously like a joke, which is kind of funny. He's got a funny voice. The voice actors on this show have everyone from Jason Alexander to just a lot of great talent that went into putting the show together. And if you are a fan of superheroes in any type of way, I definitely suggest checking this out. It's cool because every season has like a different storyline. They go with Batman, they go with Superman, they just all the different bad guys. It's a really cool, fun trip. It's really kind of rated R too. It's not definitely not for children, I would say. There is lots of cussing. There is sexual scenes. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've actually seen the first season. I really enjoyed it. With the, I'm pretty sure people have seen the clip on TikTok or YouTube Shorts of Scarecrow taking off Bruce Wayne's mask,
Yeah.
and then Joker being completely pissed, and then he realizes he's Bruce Wayne and asks him where his electric car is because he put a deposit on the on the electric car that was supposed to be released that year. I really enjoyed it. I just never got around to seeing the other seasons. It's kind of like everything kind of like bundled up in what I had to do and watch, so it kind of got lost in the shuffle. But I definitely do want to go back and check it out. The other seasons. I know you've been saying you've been enjoying it. I really liked the first season, and I thought it was hilarious. But I really want to see what happens in the other ones.
Well, they even in like season 3 or 4 when James Gunn took over DC, he's on there as like a cartoon, and they kind of mock him even, and like it's funny because he is in charge now, but like the storylines are, I think it's the animation that really gets me, and the voice actors too, because it is just you could spend so much time. I'm a huge fan of Tony Hale. He was on Veep. He plays a character, and there's just so many different storylines going on. And I guess me not being into them as my favorite, it has been something that now I'm a little upset because this newest season is running out. So yeah, definitely check it out, especially if you're just into something, even having it on in the background. It's something fun just to kind of have on.
You know what? It's kind of funny you say that because that's the way it kind of is sometimes with me with shows. Like of course, I watched Suits when it first came out, and I didn't like the way it ended. Well, actually, I watched it after it came out. I saw it on Prime, and I got hooked on it there, and it's become like one of my favorite shows, the original Suits. And then I experienced Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
That was good.
Much later than when it was released, because I didn't have Stars at the time, nor was I going to pay for Stars, and the streaming stuff wasn't available like it is now. So I decided to skip it, and then I watched it, and as everybody knows, it leaves on a big cliffhanger. Even though Bruce Campbell said it's the perfect ending, I don't think so. A lot of people have asked for him to come back, and now that he's older, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But it's just shows like that you think, damn, I would have been kind of pissed if I'd have watched it while it was running, but once you binge it and you're like, oh, there's no more, like, what am I going to do besides restart it or try to outsource it to something else? Kind of sucks when that happens.
Back when Ash versus Evil Dead came out, I was like on the hunt to try to find and watch every show that I thought was cool. So I watched that one, of course. And at the same time, I watched another show that was really good that only had a couple seasons on Stars too. It had Patrick Stewart. It was called Blunt Talk. He was like a really vulgar talk show host, which was hilarious because, seeing him play Picard and then watching him play this host, and then that being back to back with Ash versus Evil Dead, which, to be fair, I thought it was great, actually. It wasn't just good. It was really, really good. And even Katie, who at the time when she watched it, I don't think she had watched anything else, and was like, this is a good show. I like this show. So, that was a shame. But again, when I think the first couple seasons of Harley Quinn was on, there used to be just a DC channel. I think it was supposed to be all DC content. And then when Max kind of took over, now it's just strictly on Max, which is cool too, because everybody pretty much has Max. So check it out. All the seasons are on there. It's good stuff. The other movie that I watched, I like to put this one on when I like to feel relaxed. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a very relaxing movie. It is Uncut Gems. I love this movie a lot. This is probably one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years for a couple different reasons. Number one, I would go with the script. I think the script is, to me, very solid in what I would write to be an awesome script, which we'll get to with the plot in a second. And second, I think I have to give props to Adam Sandler, because this isn't a movie that I like Adam Sandler in some really good serious movies like Punch Drunk Love. A lot of people knock Spanglish, but I remember watching it at college, and even with a buddy, it wasn't awful. But Uncut Gems, I mean, if you're a fan of the crime syndicate type of film, like your Casinos and your Goodfellas and anything that just has to do with crime, I'm a big fan of that, and I think this is a good movie that showcases that. Pretty much showcases a man who is on a deep dark descent into gambling. And the thing that I love the best about the movie is probably the last 5 minutes, because as another movie we've talked about on the show, The Departed, watching this movie in the movie theater with Katie, I did not see this ending coming at all. It's a very harsh ending to the movie, but it pretty much wraps up the entire point, I think, of what the film is trying to portray. If it's been a long time since you've seen the movie, watch it. But if you haven't, watch it again, because there's always something you can find in this movie. And not only the performance of Sandler, but I'm a really big fan of an actor named Eric Bogosian. He's been in actually an Oliver Stone movie called Talk Radio in the late 80s. He's been in some other things that I've watched that is really good. He plays a good role in this movie. I just like this movie a lot. You ever see Uncut Gems?
Yeah, I did. It's probably Sandler's best performance, I think, in any role. I want to ask you, since he was pining really hard for an Oscar nomination, and people feel he was gypped. And I went while you were talking and looked up the Oscar nominations that year for leading actor. Of course, Joaquin Phoenix won for Joker, but the other nominees were Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Leonardo DiCaprio, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, and Jonathan Pryce for The Two Popes. Do you think Sandler performed better than any of those besides Phoenix?
Let me put it to you this way. Thankfully, I don't want to say thankfully. If we were to do the show back then, I would have went on a huge tirade, because I feel like if this movie came out in the 70s and this was the actor who we knew him to be, and then he did a role like this, it would have been Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Screenplay, Best this. Some of those other movies that you mentioned there, I mean, like, I like this movie. Don't get me wrong, I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, okay? I think it's an okay movie. But I do think that this movie is light years ahead of that movie, just in my own personal opinion, because of the script, because of the acting. And honestly, this movie gives me goosebumps. Once Upon a Time in America Hollywood didn't give me goosebumps. I thought it was some good performances. I also thought it was long at times, and there's some other things in there. But this movie, because again, it rests on Sandler. I mean, Sandler does not do a good performance in this. The script could have been great. It could have been an okay movie, but you're like, boy, this just something was missing, I'm not saying even someone like Ben Stiller couldn't have pulled this off, but to think that Adam Sandler, this guy, is in a movie like a crime movie like this it was really inspiring to me at the time. And honestly, to answer your question, it was very upsetting that he wasn't picked, because not only did I felt like he was picked, but in these years where we talk about Angela Bassett and we talk about even, okay, I have no problem, but Bill Murray threw a hissy fit when he didn't win for Lost in Translation. And I think Lost in Translation is not even in the same video store as this movie. So, like, again, that's just my opinion, though, on it.
I think Lost in Translation was a good film.
Bill Murray's got another movie that he came out with a couple years later.
What about Bob?
St. Vincent.
Yeah.
Where he was nominated for some Oscars, and he did actually, I thought, a better job in that movie. Because what you're looking for Bill Murray is he was quirky. I mean, like, you're looking for Bill Murray not to be Bill Murray. This is not Adam Sandler. That's what you look for these performances, which, you know, we're going to get to in some of your movies here in a second. You look for performances where the actor is playing not the type that you would think he would play. And I think that, you know, but Bill Murray did a good job in the movie. I just think, again, when is a comedian, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's been flip-flops. Like, Leslie Nielsen was a totally serious actor until he was in Airplane, which was a total humorous movie that changed his whole career trajectory in a different direction. But even this movie, as great as it was for Sandler, it wasn't like Sandler took the ball and ran and wanted to start to be like this type of actor. He's back doing fun, hilarious stuff.
I think Sandler gets a lot. I mean, we've done a whole episode previously on Sandler, but he's a thespian at heart. I mean, he went to, I think, believe NYU. Although he was a comedian, he's a classically trained actor. He went to school and he did like King Lear and stuff like that in college. So he has acting chops. He has shown it, like Punch Drunk Love, Funny People, even though he plays a comedian there. I can't hear yours whispering.
It's not giving him the money. Not giving him the money. The money.
Yeah.
The money. He's all for the money. Netflix deals. I mean, when you look at his
to be honest with you, I think he just, at this point in his career, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll take the money, but he does like those roles.
Well, like the output on Netflix, those Jennifer Aniston, like, he does a lot of bad work. So, definitely. I agree with what you're saying, but I mean, if we went through De Niro's bad movies, I think Sandler would have more bad movies than De Niro just because Sandler hasn't had as many.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
but that's what's the problem with the thespian. When you go to someone like these actors in Mississippi Burning, they haven't made those type of choices, and they're thespian actors too. So that's
I don't know. I mean, we'll go to that in a minute. But in terms of Sandler, I think Sandler, he is a good actor, and that's what kind of gets overshadowed, that he is in so many bad movies. People forget that. I mean, if you want to think of comedians that showcased their talent in terms of acting, one off the top of my head right away is Robin Williams.
Whoa.
For, you know, as who could blend comedy, and he was in a lot of bad movies too, but he could blend comedy and seriousness in his role. Another person that doesn't get talked a lot about, who couldn't even get a SAG card, who's in a bunch of like comedy movies, he's known for comedy, is Rodney Dangerfield. But his role in Natural Born Killers was a disgusting role, and he played it to perfection. Like,
well, I'm really gonna have to sit down and think. I like the three that you mentioned. Okay, because I love Dangerfield. He's one of my favorites, and he does an okay job. I'll say he does an okay job in Natural Born Killers.
But just I'm saying, just the fact that he plays something totally different than what he usually plays.
Robin Williams, don't you think, though, I mean, I love Sandler and I love him in this role, but don't you think Williams is even a step above Sandler?
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. Williams is probably one of the best comedic actors of all time.
Before I get what you're saying, they all do a performance that is against prototype of what you're usually seeing them do.
But I personally think for that, I think I thought, even though I'm more critical of Leo than most, I think Leo should have would not have been nominated for a role. I think Sandler should have at least had a nomination. I don't think he should have won. I think Joker resonated with me a lot, working in the mental health
well, it was a good movie.
Career. And I thought he did a very good job. but I think Sandler was excellent in Uncut Gems, and he deserved a Oscar nomination.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from the Joker or he because he Queen, because he did a good job. But I just thought at the very least we didn't. I love. Trust me, I could talk about Jonathan Pryce and some good movies, but Two Popes, we could have left him out too.
Yeah. But the two films I watched, you already touched on one of them. That was a Mississippi Burning. With the passing of Gene Hackman, I decided to watch one of the films that I think is probably his most powerful in terms of the context of what it's about. It's about these people who passed away in 1964, the investigation of Chauncey Goodman and Schwerner in Mississippi. Uh, they were activists for Black rights and civil rights movement, and they were basically disappeared. They actually ended up, finding them deceased, and a lot of people believe it was the Klan that had to do it. Now, this is a dramatization of what the events were, but it does pull on those strings of some stuff that we're even dealing with today, like outright racism. Michael Rooker's in it. Gene Hackman, I think him and the dynamic he has with the straight-laced FBI agent and William Dafoe is excellent. I think their chemistry is very, very good. You have, like I said, Michael Rooker plays a complete scumbag in it, as does Brad Dourif, another complete piece of crap in the movie.
Great role.
Frances McDormand is awesome. You got Pruitt Taylor Vince, who plays a kind of a slower person in it. You got our guy Tobin Bell as Agent Stokes, who's just this badass FBI agent. Arlie Emery's in it as the mayor. It's got an all-star cast, and it touches on those racial overtones of that push buttons. Gene Hackman is just masterful in it with his performance as Rupert Anderson. He's kind of like the crazy out of control cop or FBI agent, kind of stereotypical, but he just plays it to a badass degree, and he's going against the Klan. It's very, very powerful film. I'm not a big fan of white savior films, and I don't think this is one of them. I think it's just a person just trying to find out what was going on. But I thought he did a very, very good job, and the film overall, I thought the film was very, very good. And I know you've seen this film, Tone. Tell me what you think about it.
Well, I mean, I think Gene Hackman probably lays down one of the best smacks. I think we've talked about this before in film history. I mean, I had to rewind it 3 times because I mean it was loud, like in my stereo. It was like boom, and Defoe took it. Like Defoe didn't like fall over, and he kept. I like their interaction back and forth in this movie, because for a little while I think Hackman, Defoe, I think kind of where he's coming from. Hackman, it takes a little while for the movie to go to really kind of understand Hackman's point of view and where he's coming from, and that's kind of. And then I'm a big fan of scumbag characters. And you just listed, Rooker's scumbag character, great. Dorif's scumbag character, great. Just really good performances all around. A movie I didn't see till later. I think it was because I was like, pretty much what you said there. It was like, oh, I don't want to watch this movie because I think I know everything that happens type of thing. Where the truth of the matter is I really didn't know anything that happened, and that just shows, how silly I was, because the performances of everyone in this movie are great.
Yeah, and I know it got a lot of backlash because of the events that they felt like, again, the events were a little more artistic, and I can see that, I understand that, but in terms of just the context of the film, I really, really enjoyed it. And speaking of, you mentioned like clunkers. I mean, Gene Hackman was in Heartbreakers, and that movie was horrible. So,
Well, I still have it in a box upstairs. For some unknown godly reason, my mother would watch that movie over and over and over again. She's like, Tony, will you watch this with me? And I was like, no, and I never did. So maybe one day I'll watch it and I'll give you my review. It's got Ray Liotta in it.
yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, to be fair, again, are you really going to compare Heartbreakers to Going Overboard? You ever sit through that?
Oh yeah, I've seen it plenty of times.
That's not a good movie at all by any stretch or means, or neither is pretty much anything after Big Daddy for a while. We'll talk about it later. Let's talk about your next movie.
Yeah. So, and then while I was working, I decided to pop on a. Yes, I agree. The most amazing performance in Mississippi Burning is by Judd Chola. Very, very good performance. Uh, but the next film I actually was able to watch during work, well, not during work, while having on more for background noise, is The Mummy. And I caught myself looking at this film more and more. You know, while I was working, I would take a second from looking at my script or code, and then I would look at the movie at certain parts because I was like, what is you know, I used to like this movie a lot, the Brendan Fraser Mummy with Rachel Weisz, and me and my brother used to laugh at Benny. I used to have clips from this in my streams for when I used to stream video games on Twitch. Your strength gives me strength, and the me and my son still do that, which he laughs at. My buddy Johnny and I still do that, which he laughs at. But the CGI in this did not age very, very well. It's very, very bad. Overall story is still pretty good, and still I still cracked up at certain parts, but in terms of the CGI, man, does it look bad. What do you think of The Mummy, Tony?
I remember going to see it opening night, and the theater was so packed that we like try to sit on the floor. And then the ushers came in and were like, "You got to leave. We'll give you your money back, and you're gonna have to come back to another showing." So then we tried to go to like another theater in another town, and then that didn't work. So we had to wait till the next night to go see it. I thought it was for what it was. It was fun. Arnold Vosloo, I mean, where's his Oscar for this movie? You know what I mean? In my opinion, he does a great, great, great job.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Fraser does a good job, as you talked about. Benny, great job. But you just said it right there. The CGI dates it, which is a shame, because if that CGI didn't date it as much, it could actually go down as being a real solid movie for the year it came out. But I just think that it kind of stales it out a little bit. And then as the series goes on, it just gets a little more stale as by the time you get to the Scorpion King and you see the way The Rock looks, that CGI is really bad.
It's funny because the Scorpion King, my buddy Mario in high school used to always say the "cock to ha to," where he says that line. He
Mhm.
said that he goes, "I went to go see the Scorpion King because The Rock was in it." That's what he always tell me. And he's like, he was only in it for like 2 minutes, bro, and he was in horrible CGI at the end. And it's just funny because he's like, The Rock's a big actor. This is when, of course, The Rock wasn't a big actor yet. He's like, The Rock's a big actor. He's in The Mummy Returns, and he's in CGI. It's just. And then I saw the film and I'm like, wow, this is really bad. And then the third one is even worse. They replaced Rachel Weisz with another woman, another actress.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right. I forgot about the third one, even with Jet Li.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man,
But I like this one. It kind of got Brendan Fraser kind of on that superstar trajectory, and then he kind of fell off, and he found redemption by winning an Oscar for Whale, which I really, really liked. And even those films made a lot of money. Like the third one made it 405 million on a
yeah,
$100 million budget. It was Maria Bello that replaced Rachel Weisz.
that is
Uh,
true. Yes.
but the Mummy will always have some significance for me. I went to go see it in the theater twice. My mom took me, my brother, and me and my friend one time. Both time, the other time to go see it. So I always liked it. I'll watch it. It's just that the CGI just did not age very well.
Not at all.
But that's what we watched this week. Let's know what you watched over at the At the Show podcast on X or whatever it's called this week. Or let us know on Facebook at Statistic Studios or in the YouTube comments. Tone, it was St. Paddy's Day this past week. Did you do anything special?
Nothing more than just make steak tacos, which has nothing to do with St. Patrick's Day. But to me, you always could eat some good steak tacos.
Yes, I'm a big fan of tacos, as you know. My wife every year she makes corned beef and cabbage in the crock pot, so it was actually very, very good,
Nice.
which is kind of funny. So we had that, and I didn't go out and drink. I was just too tired from the weekend. I didn't feel like doing anything. I really don't drink anymore, so I didn't get to enjoy those festivities. But this week I did watch a ton of Leprechaun films, and one
Ooh.
thing I finally found that was kind of consistent in the film was this.
Have I mentioned that I want me gold? I want me gold! I want me gold! You want me gold? I want me gold! 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 I'll have me gold! I want me gold!
Sam says he finds Leprechaun to be culturally, what is it? Culturally appropriation. It's offensive. Well, I'm sorry, Sam. I could have did the Mike Myers. I'm a leprechaun for you. But yeah, I watched all 6 films. I even looked over a little bit of the other 2. I know this is something like we want to try out and see since it is a holiday, to some, and a drinking day to others. We should get into these films, my man. So why don't you get into the first one with me?
Let's do it.
What are you? What do I look like, me lad? See that? The buckles on me shoes? Why, I'm a leprechaun. A shoemaker by trade. And speaking of shoes, yours could use a shine. But first, have you seen a crock of gold lying around? Tell me, or I'll bite your ear off and I'll make a boat out of it.
1993's Leprechaun, directed by Mark Jones, who also directed Rumpelstiltskin, a classic, Scorn, and Quiet Kill. The film stars Warwick Davis as a leprechaun, Jennifer Aniston in her first film ever, Ken Aldent, Mark Holton, Shay Duffin, and Robert Hy Gorman. The movie had a budget of $900K and a box office of $8.5 million. This film, I remember seeing commercials for it as a kid, and it looked fucking amazing. Just the clips, where they had him when they showed his like socks with the gold and like the little door opening. Not the picture you see there. It's with him not coming. It's just a shadow coming through, and you hear him laughing. They show the camera chasing her, Jennifer Aniston, into the house. I was like, man, I gotta see. I thought there was a bunch of leprechauns, and then I found out there was just one leprechaun. Now, when I saw the film, I laughed even as a kid. Me and my brother laughed. I think Mark Holton is probably the best part as Ozzy in this film, but I'll always know him as Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But it's a film that was hated by a lot of people. Gene Siskel came out and said that it makes bad look really bad, and it became a cult classic. And it made $8 million. I watched it. I still watch it every once in a while because it cracks me up. It has great one-liners. Me and my brother still quote when he goes down the chimney and he says, "It's guess who's here? And it ain't Santa Claus." And then they shoot him and he goes, "Ah." Or the fact he eats Lucky Charms. The fact he's obsessed with shoes. They just throw shoes at him to keep him distracted. It's he feels up Jennifer Aniston's legs and goes, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." It's just like it's a stupid like craziness of it, and the fact that Mark Holton's character swallows his gold coin, this is just ridiculous. I love this film. I think it's hilarious. Tone, what do you think about it?
Pretty much everything that you said. Along with just the facts of the ridiculousness of the plot. You get to see Jennifer Aniston in her first role. When it first came out, I think I rented this one right when it first came out, because again, this is right around the time of Child's Play. So I'm into creepy, and this is gonna be creepy, but it's funny, more, even when I saw it the first time. Whereas even the first Child's Play, it did creep me out the first time I saw it. This didn't really creep me out. It was more of where's me gold? And you're like, okay, this is funny. It's like Gremlins. It's funny, creepy, I guess you could call it. But the performance of Warwick Davis, I think we got a recurring theme tonight is where was his Oscar for Leprechaun? You know what I mean? To be able to demand gold and not receive it. It's just really a shame that the Academy decided to ignore such grandeur.
The fact he demanded gold and not receive it. Yeah, he demanded an Oscar gold. The crazy thing I've seen from this, and when I was doing some research on this, is the actor Deep Roy, who you might know from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He plays the Oompa Loompas, all of them actually. He's also from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. He's actually the character Yoda. He's the person in the suit. Very, very like he's also in Eastbound and Down. He plays Aaron when they're in Mexico.
Oh yes.
Have you ever seen that? He's and they talk about the chicken, the fighting rooster.
Yes.
He's hilarious, but he was a stand-in for Warwick Davis in stunt because Warwick Davis had some issues with his lungs, so he stepped in for him in the suit to perform the stunt. And just little stuff I found, like this movie it grossed $15 million in VHS sales and DVD
Oh, yeah.
sales.
Big
Due to,
VHS.
yeah, due to, of course, Jennifer Aniston. And of course, she was instead of having Warwick Davis on it, she was like the cover of the film. The fact when she runs the part where she runs away when he's chasing her in the wheelchair, she had to go in slow motion because he could barely catch up because the chair was too big for him, which I thought was hilarious. And that's why that scene is like sped up, I guess, when he's chasing her.
Yes, that's a good thing. Yeah.
So, but this came into Mark Jones's mind in 1985 about a leprechaun, and then he started filming it in 91 and then got released in 93. So I mean, good for him. It became a staple for Halloween. Warwick Davis is probably one of his biggest roles, if not his biggest role, besides Willow, is this film. It got him paid. So it's just crazy how this film just completely, blew up into what we're gonna go to in the next other films that are going down. Uh, Jennifer Aniston, like, what a first film to even pick to decide to do, which I thought was hilarious. Your first film is a Leprechaun film, and the actors obviously didn't make a lot of money in this. Another stunt double that later appeared in this film, in the second film that we're going to talk about, was Tony Cox, who you might remember from uh, Bad Santa, and also from Friday as I forget his name. Oh my goodness, I can't think of his name right now. But he's in Friday as well. He's the guy who chases Bernie Mac out of the Mr. Parker. He chases Bernie Mac out of the house. Calls him the goddamn devil. But he's also a stunt double for Warwick Davis as well, which I think was kind of funny that you have Deep Roy, who has his own career, and you have Tony Cox, who's more comedic and has his own career, filling in for Warwick Davis to perform stunts. This film is just ridiculous, man.
I always know when I'm out because like I'm about to say something funny and you always react and you just like start like going like you're by yourself and I look up, I'm like, shoot, I'm gone. I gotta get back. What I was about to tell you when I was about to start laughing at was the guy at the beginning, the old gentleman, the one who loses. That whole thing is great.
Mr. O'Grady?
Yes, Mr. O'Grady. The whole
Shay Duffin, his name is.
The way it all starts is why I think this movie ends up being kind of cool because it starts
gold.
Just the way it takes place on the farm too. I like the locale of it. Because you're thinking a movie about leprechauns is maybe not going to take place on some like old dusty farm, but it does. I like that too.
Also, it says the clover patch on set was planted and illuminated with green light, and the crew had to glue an extra leaf onto a 4-leaf clover for effect. What, you telling me 4-leaf clovers don't exist? I thought they did. You just gotta believe. That's what Ozzy said. I thought this film was hilarious.
It's great. I mean, it's great, and it's always great around this time of year. If I wish I could take a running, there's so many things I wish I would have written down in my life, and one of the million things I wish I would have written down is how many marches in a row I've watched Leprechaun. Because I feel like every year, you got to watch it at least once. And then I try to get through the rest of them, but they start to get staticky after. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So You know when you go on a roller coaster and you reach the top, and then you go down. This is the top of that roller coaster ride.
It's
Because
crazy
man,
when it happens right in the first one. And
yeah, man, this shit go down real quick. Let's go on to the second one, Tom.
Drink what you want. Drink what you're able. If you're drinking with me, you'll be under the table.
1994's Leprechaun 2, directed by Rodman Flender, who did The Unborn. He also did 2 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, Food for Thought in 1993, and 99 and 44, divided by 100% Pure Horror in 1995. He also did Idle Hands and Eat Brains Love. The film stars Warwick Davis, Charlie Heath, Siobhan Durkin, and Sandy Barrow. It had a budget of $2 million and had a box office of $2.2 million. So it made a little money if you want to call out, advertisement. It probably didn't make much. But what do you think of Leprechaun 2, Tone?
I want to meet someone who got lucky enough to see Leprechaun 2 in the movie theater, because that's pretty epic. Because after this one, being able to see a Leprechaun in the movie theater is very scarce. So, like, to get the $2 million budget to have this movie, again, I think they try again to roll out a simple story, and I think it only worked with the first one. Not to say that this movie is the worst. It just doesn't pick up as, like you mentioned, a movie earlier called Empire Strikes Back, which I think took a step above from the first one. This one, I think we're starting to move a little backwards. It is great that we got Warwick back, but one of the best things about this movie, I have to say, is you played it right there before. That quote is a ace quote there at the beginning by our Leprechaun friend. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I would say the best part of this movie, besides Warwick Davis, is Morty, who's played by Sandy Barrow as the drunken old man. And his death scene where the pot of gold grows in his stomach, and he just basically he cuts it out with his hands. It's really, really cool. They just add a lot more lore to this. Apparently, he's afraid of fucking iron now. He can't touch iron. It burns him. They're just like adding lore as they go, and I really, really love this part, this little tidbit of trivia here. After finishing the original Leprechaun movie, series creator Mark Jones hoped for a sequel. However, he only stayed on as a producer because he was busy writing Rumpelstiltskin in 1995, leaving a lasting impact on the franchise's return. A future. You're telling me like he wrote a classic like Rumpelstiltskin and he couldn't write a better movie than this one? Rumpelstiltskin was bad, but this film is just it's stupid. He basically makes a girl sneeze 3 times to make her fall in love with him, and he has slaves apparently, or make like he tries to get the guy give him his daughter. Apparently, there was some plot for Jennifer Aniston to come back where they offered her $25,000, and as a revenge plot, it was going to have him marry her somehow, and goblins were going to be introduced. But she decided not to do the role, which was probably the best thing of her career. She continued to do her stuff with friends, and they basically kept the Leprechaun main plot and kept going along with the storyline of it. The One of Us chant, of course, with Tony Cox is a throwback to Freaks, which is a 1932 Tom Browning film. If you ever seen that, it's a very, very good film. Portrays carnival folk, which shows that actually they're not the quote unquote freaks. It's actually the regular people are, because they're so ugly inside. But this film was nowhere near, that. I guess showing signs of having a great message. This film was just fucking stupid. I watched this film again, and I was like, wow, like he's afraid of this leprechaun's supposed to be super powerful. He's afraid of 4-leaf clovers. I'm like, okay. But now he's afraid of iron, and it just keeps getting worse from there.
a couple of hilarious notes here is number one. I love Clint Howard's portrayal of the tourist in this movie. You would be,
Yeah.
you would be, we would be a miss if we didn't mention our Mr. Clint Howard.
The ice cream man.
Oh, that's a classic right there. I mean, I remember seeing that box at the movie theater. I mean, at the movie store right when that one came out. Opening weekend, 252 theaters. That was it. $672,000 it made. This is my favorite line though, right here. They ask Warwick, why did you decide to do Leprechaun 2? And he states, well, money's definitely the answer. So, which again, you know, he wanted his pot of gold, you know, and some good costumes in this movie, all around.
Yeah, this is the only film of the series that takes place on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
A cool thing here is a rare German VHS copy of Fatal Pass includes a trailer with scenes that were ultimately cut from the final version of Leprechaun 2, offering fans a glimpse of unused footage. So is that like the missing Kennedy tapes, you know, of
Yeah, I
Leprechaun?
think you're onto something.
And it was originally planned to film Leprechaun 2 and 3 back to back with returning characters, but the studio scrapped the idea, leading to extensive footage being cut and rewritten for shoots. I think this is the last film that was released in theaters.
It was. It sure was.
Yeah,
Direct
released
to
in theaters.
video, Leprechaun 3. That's right. I said we're going right to video now.
Yeah. So this series went downhill very, very quick. You know what kind of reminds you of like how these films keep getting made? You ever hear of this series called Killjoy?
Oh yeah.
That film was
Haven't
horrible.
seen
It was
but
a direct it was a
I've seen-
direct to video film. Very, very bad. But that like spawned like five,
like-
6 sequels.
I know you've talked about, I think, these movies before on your show, but you know, like something like Puppet Master, like that's directed video. You know, a lot of those movies aren't at the theater. Like this newest one, did you watch the newest one? It came out like a couple years ago. It's called
No, I have not.
It was actually a pretty good movie for being something. Because before we move on, I mean, for a long time, direct to video had this like connotation, especially in the 90s. It was like, oh, that's direct to video, you don't want to watch that, you know. Where then now, you know, with streaming, there's a lot of sometimes good stuff that could come direct to things. But trust me, these aren't good examples of that.
Is it Dr. Death? Is that the one?
No, I'm looking at here, it is
Littlest Reich.
Yes, Littlest Reich. Watch that movie if you get an opportunity.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 Puppet Master movies.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Now I will give somebody our very first at the show package. I don't even know what that is yet. If you can sit through all of those movies and tell us something positive or negative about them, I would love to hear it. Really, I think it would be an interesting.
Yeah, let's do that. If you can do that, you can come on our show and give us positive, negative things about those 15 movies. We will invite you on, and we will give you an after show package that Tony doesn't even know what it is yet.
It's gonna be good. I promise you, it would just not worth your time. But I promise you, I will say that if you make it all the way to Third Reich, you're into actually
Third Reich.
You're made it into some
The Littlest Reich, man, not the Third Reich.
Littlest Reich, which is pretty much what it is like they've released like crazy German puppets too to interact with the other puppets, and it just gets really insane. It's crazy, man. This series is, but that's it. You know, there's another series, Doll Man. These were all series that were released right to video back then. So now we're into Leprechaun 3, and you're saying to yourself, it's 1995. This is prime, but this is what's weird. This had a $1.2 million budget. So someone spent that amount of money and still released it straight to video. Kind of unique.
Yeah, I mean, Let's just listen to the clip.
There was an old man of Madras whose balls were made of fine brass. So in stormy weather, they both clung together and sparks flew out of his ass.
Leprechaun 3 was released in 1995, and it was directed by Brian Treacher Smith, who did Drive Hard, Stunt Rock, Death Cheaters, The Love Epidemic, and one of my favorite movie titles, Tyrannosaurus Azteca. The film stars Warwick Davis, John Gattens, Lee Armstrong, John DeMita, Michael Callan, and it was filmed in 14 days, Tone. The next films that we're going to have, the Leprechauns 3 through 6, they do not have a budget, a box office, and most of the budgets were around 1 and 1.5 million. So that's what you're going to probably assume. I'm not going to give no box offices from. But again, this film, Tone, ridiculous premise about now we have a special wishing coin, apparently, that appears out there. And this wishing coin can only grant you one wish, which he apparently, a guy gets winning a casino, a lady becomes younger, another guy wants to sleep with somebody. And then the show magician wants to be the best magician at the show in Las Vegas. This is another reason for them to come to Las Vegas, I guess, to have the Leprechaun there. Then the part where he bites you and you turn into a fucking leprechaun. In Leprechaun 1, the dad gets bitten by him. Remember, they think it's a bobcat that bites him?
Yes.
Why didn't he turn into a leprechaun?
I don't know.
It's just ridiculous how stupid like the series is just going. It was filmed non-union to save money, and my God, they really need to save money for this film because it was horrible. The part where the girl blows up, none of the scenes in here look particularly good in terms of the kills. Even, you know what I mean? Like, did you like any of the kills in this film?
No, not necessarily, but that's okay. Warwick Davis claims that this is his favorite of the series. He states he thinks it tapped into the potential of bringing a comedic element to it all. That was really a lot of good humor out of it, is from Warwick's perspective. Second, did you know we got an Oscar-nominated person in this movie? Yep. Did you know Mr. John Gaddens? We've talked about a movie he was nominated for writing a script, Flight, with Denzel Washington. He wrote the script, The Flight, and he was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. So you're saying to yourself, all right, here, we got a great Oscar-nominated writer here. We're going to have him in the future. And we got Warwick Davis. You know, we've already talked about he should be winning the Oscar for his portrayal of it. Let's go straight to video. And I think honestly, I'm going to blow your mind here. You know, I think they hid the figures of how much they made because they made so much money that the producers just wanted to pocket it all. Like, that's why they did it this way. No, I'm kidding you. They didn't make any money on this one. There was no money to be made. This movie is not the best.
The funny thing is, you say, John Gattens went on to write Flight, so his career kind of went up on a trajectory. So he started at the bottom, the lowest cesspool, and then he kind of went up. What's up, Brian? You know, Lee Armstrong, who plays Tammy, she decided to retire from acting after this film.
Oh, that's a shame.
So one went up, the other one just said, "Yeah, I'm not doing this anymore."
Well, I'm glad. First of all, I'm just laughing here because I'm glad John moved on to writing scripts, because I don't know if you remember his role in Varsity Blues. It says he played Smiling Man. Do you remember Smiling Man in Varsity Blues?
There's a lot of smiling men in there.
That's what I said. So he really got lucky because, which is unique, because let me just tell you, the movie he did before Flight was Real Steel, and after Flight was Need for Speed. So he really got lucky there in doing Flight, because those other two movies just...
Real Steel wasn't that horrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible.
No. But he did do also Coach Carter, which we've talked about, which is a good movie. So
yeah, he did Fred the movie too. He was the car wash clerk.
That's true. But back to this movie, not the best.
The working title for this project was Trial of a Leprechaun, featuring an elaborate plot that was ultimately scrapped during reshoots. Also, the film was also known by an alternate title. If this doesn't scream Leprechaun, I don't know what will. One Wedding and Lots of Funerals.
One Wedding and Lots of Funerals.
What the fuck does that have to do with Leprechaun? What are these people thinking, man?
Good.
It's just ridiculous. He does have a cameo with Warwick Davis does have a cameo as himself as he's walking into as Scott enters his casino. He's there. The Leprechaun also meets an Elvis impersonator, which he apparently lets live. I guess he gets along with Elvis. I have no idea. But this one, I don't know, man. We're going down that steep hill, man. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And there's not much more I can say about this one, Tone.
Not good. Performances are lacking, and as bad as this one is, the next one is like a real steep drop off.
Yeah, and for the next film, I actually have a video clip of it because you have to see how ridiculous this film is. Oh my god! But you just show. For those listening on audio, Tony just showed the picture of the woman with the big lips. It looks so bad, man. And she blows up. Her ass gets really big and she explodes. I remember my mom was watching this and my mom was like, how stupid. Yeah, the kills aren't even good in this film. But let's get into the next one with this great clip.
I'm huge. I'm magnificent.
Go.
Okay. All right. Big is good.
That scene right there just kind of tells you how great this film's gonna be.
I can't understand where you would ever need to be shirtless with blood. Like if you've never seen this movie and you're only watching our show for the first time and you see him and he's got his shirt off, he's got blood, and he's telling her, he's like, run, we got this. And what's his name's just like feeling his legs. He's like, I'm big. You'd say, what is going on here?
Leprechaun 4 in Space. It was released in 1996. Brian Treacher Smith came back to direct this film. It was starring Warwick Davis, Rebecca Carlton, Brent Jasper, Jessica Collins, Guy Sinner, and Miguel A. Nunez. Tell us about this film. I'm just laughing because that scene just, oh my god.
I've been duped multiple times in space. At this in space type of model. Real quick before I go into this, I'll never forget some buddies of mine, even before this, rented this movie called Critters 4 in Space. Oh my lord, it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. The ship that they were on was about as big as like somebody's kitchen. It was just the stupidest plot. Jason is Space. I've tried so many times to watch that movie. I just cannot.
Jason X.
I cannot, and I love cheesy. There's something about it. And then now here we are, Leprechaun 4 in Space. Why do these characters, why do they feel the need? Okay, back to Puppet Masters. They're not even in space yet. They're on like 15 or 16. Leprechaun, after having all these movies, should not have been at space. But that being said, what's interesting before I go in is that this one has the highest out of 2 and 3, and this has the highest Rotten Tomatoes rating with 38%. Now that you've played that clip live, Yump, I'm rethinking my going off on this movie. No, I'm just kidding. It's all over the place. It is all over the place. Thinking of a leprechaun terrorizing a marine crew, to retrieve a princess who he wants to wed. It's a little bit of a stretch for me. But
she just wants the gold.
We like Warwick and we need him to feed him and his family, so he does need to get paid. And he's direct. And again, They got the budget. The budget here says $1.6 million. So again, I'm gonna bet a lot of that is to Warwick. So like again,
I
all
would
of it,
hope so.
all of it, I would say, and because Brian, I mean, I can't imagine that they needed to ask him. Like, I mean, he didn't have to beg to come back. They were just like, oh, okay. But who I like to say here is like, it's just really kind of as I stated, a little bit of a stretch.
So the funny thing is, Brett Jasmer, the guy who was shirtless there, they thought he had a strong resemblance to Sylvester Stallone. And Brian Trenchard Smith, who has done classics like Leprechaun 3 and Leprechaun 4 and then Tyrannosaurus Azteca, wanted him originally to do a Sylvester Stallone impersonation and impression throughout the film, but later dropped the idea to avoid legal issues. They also wanted to have this film kind of be a make fun of Tom Hanks's Apollo 13, replacing Hanks's face with leprechauns, which I thought was hilarious, just learning about that. The film is set in the year 2096, so this is after all the other films, so this is the last of the canon, if you want to go, you are really into that, which I don't know why you'd be keeping canon of leprechauns.
Well, I'm kind of curious because I didn't know if you were going to spill it or if I was going to spill it. If Joanna Man's in this movie,
yeah, Miguel Nunez, yeah, Joanna Man, yeah, he's.
Yeah, I mean, we always got to have a segue into talking about Joanna. No, I'm just kidding.
I saw that movie in theaters.
Did you?
Yeah,
but he's also he's also in the great Spider from Return of the Living Dead, Demon from A New Beginning, Friday the 13th. So not just Joanna Man, but it's cool. I always these movies. I need to find somebody that I know, so I could be like, I know him, so this movie is okay for me to watch. I used to say it to my friends, like, I'll watch no movie where I don't know one actor at least in the movie, and I still try to stick to that because I need to know somebody. That's the point of the movie. I need to know an actor.
One thing about Joanna Man I'll always remember is whenever he would dunk the ball, he goes zoom. It reminded me of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory when he's dressed up as the Flash. The CGI budget for this film was a modest $80,000, so we know that didn't go towards the overall budget of the film. There's a scene where he kills a guy by making him into a pizza face by throwing basically a pizza tray at him, and his face gets smashed, and he basically is like flat. This clip right here, where he's holding the guy with the ball and gag in his mouth and trying to shoot him with a syringe, is just ridiculous. He's also never referred to as a leprechaun in the movie. He's called alien or monstered or even bastard, but never leprechaun.
Bastard.
This the director Brian Trenchard Smith later expressed disappointment with the final quality of the special effects, calling them below PlayStation. You wrote this movie and you directed it, and your biggest call out is the special effects, bro. Really? Oh my god. And for those who were listening audioly, the clip I showed is basically him as a big leprechaun. He's grown in size, and the first thing he does is feel his legs to see that they're big, and then he looks at his pants to look at his genitalia and says, yes, bigger is better. Which is when me and my brother saw the scene, we're like, what the hell? We're like, what is going on? This film is completely like, it's
one day if we could ever own a movie theater, if we could just start all these movies at 7 p.m. and see how long everyone can last, because they're so ridiculous that you got to watch them at least once. I got to say that it's definitely a treat, in not a good way or a good way. It depends on how you look at it. Leprechaun. I like that band name.
Oh my god!
Writing.
Also, yeah, I forgot. So he wields a lightsaber in this film.
That is true. He sure
which
does.
is supposedly a nod to Warwick Davis being wicked in the Return of the Jedi as one of the Ewoks. But the Leprechaun has a lightsaber in this film. This film is just so bad, bro. I watched it today and I was just like, what the hell was I thinking when I watched this film as a kid? And then the next one. Let's just get into the next one here, Tom. Let me play the clip for this one.
Smoke a joint. Yeah.
Curious aroma. Interesting blend.
Interesting bullshit. That's the bomb right there.
The bomb? Ah, the bomb.
Nothing gets you, gas for a movie than Leprechaun smoking a joint. Leprechaun 5, Leprechaun in the Hood, was released in 2000. It's directed by Rob Spira, who also did The Sweet Life, Call Girl, and Midnight Temptations. So he's a softcore porn director. It also stars Warwick Davis, Ice-T, Anthony Montgomery, Rashawn Nall, Red Grant, and Lobo Sebastian. Tone, do you have a budget on this one? I think it was like 1.5 or something like that.
1.4 million.
Okay, thank you. So 1.4 million. Again, I don't know how much money this movie made, but I will say this: you could take it from here, Tone. But this film was briefly halted when Warwick Davis experienced chronic flatulence.
Oh wow!
That's one of the trivia points of this film.
Interesting.
So, Tone, tell me about Leprechaun in the Hood.
Well, first of all, you didn't know this. Warwick Davis was nominated for Video Business Video Premiere Award for Best Actor in a Direct-to-Video release for this movie. So he did take home the gold. He finally got his gold. I was talking about it. That was nuts because it was honestly, I know, I remember we didn't know each other, but I bet you were staying up all night thinking about that. But let's go back to the original of all of this. And to be fair, when this movie came out, I'm looking here at the year 2000. This is I'm running into the last couple months of my senior year of high school. And I remember very, 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 very strongly, a buddy of mine had rented this, and we were all going to watch it. And now I know if I was to watch it like for the first time now, I would have sat through and made it through the whole thing. We didn't make it through the whole thing back then, because first of all, I'm going to be really honest with you. Like the things that we weren't kids who were smoking or doing anything like that back then. So like even him doing that didn't come to later till I was really like, that is actually hilarious that's what he was doing. And like when I was old enough to really understand what was going on, like back then it was more of like, what is Leprechaun smoking? This is stupid. I mean, I'd much rather watch, I guess. And then I'm watching, a movie that has someone doing drugs. And I'm like, this is a lot cooler because, it's actually a real person. I don't want to watch a leprechaun. But Ice-T does a fine job in this movie, as fine as he can do in a movie about a leprechaun. One of the greatest lines in movie history, one that since that day I have never forgot. It is a friend with weed is a friend indeed, but a friend with gold is the best, I'm told. And I have remembered that just by watching it, that in 2000, so that is now 25 years ago, okay, because I just watched it again last week, but that line right there is a money line that I'm looking down here. Just to be fair, I know you're going to be really blown by this. 2 guys wrote this screenplay. 4 people wrote the story. Me and you, I know you have no interest in probably writing something, but even with you with no interest, we can write something better than this. And we haven't even planned on doing any of this, which good for these guys. Good for, well, actually, Doug Hall is one of the story guys, so I'll take one of them away. So 5 people it took to write this story, but that's okay. It's a great story. But the music, I think we could dig into that a little bit. I like the music in this movie.
It's the only good thing about it.
But again, I'm an Ice-T guy. We could do a whole breakdown on Surviving the Game. We could do a breakdown on Trespass. We could do a breakdown on some really good. And honestly, I'm a huge Law and Order guy. I watched it last night. Ice-T. But Warwick, I think, is stretching it here as far as this might be a little too much for him.
Okay. So this is for Brian. In the year 2000, this film was made. Oh man, we got some breaking news here. George Foreman has passed away at the age of 76.
Oh, that's sad.
So rest in peace, George. I'll always remember you for the George Foreman grill.
I had my first hamburger on a George Foreman grill in college. Thank you.
Yes, as well as the Mining King commercials.
Yes.
And the Sega Game Gear game where you ate burgers in between rounds after you were fighting people. No, that sucks. I liked him as his commentary on fights. But back to this horrible film. I wanted to read this to you because everything you just said about how ridiculous this film is and how bad it is. Director Brian Trenchard Smith, who directed Leprechaun 3 and 4, pitched a version of the fifth film where the Leprechaun would infiltrate the White House as political satire of the Clinton era. But Trimark turned it down as it being too out there. What the that was too out there, but Leprechaun in space and Leprechaun being brought back with a necklace and smoking pot with Ice-T wasn't out there. What the hell were they thinking?
It really makes you think, I mean, they weren't thinking, but it really, 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 really makes, you think. Most of the consolidation on this movie is it's real dumb, but entertaining. There's simply nothing to recommend here, even a little, somebody said. That was from the E-Film Critic. He gave it a 1 out of 5. Again, but let's look at a little bit of a higher rating of a magazine. Entertainment Weekly gave it a B+, called it bloody, broad, and comically brutal. It's blaxploitation at its best.
This is probably
they compare this movie to movies like Foxy Brown and Superfly, which they should be shut down just for making that suggestion. But you know what? Yeah, I know what you're getting ready there.
Wow. Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
This is the most I've laughed during our film reviews because read that positive review again. That one,
the one that was like bloody, broad.
No. The 1 out of 5 review. Read that one.
Oh, the 1 out of 5. There's simply nothing to recommend here, even a little. Which honestly, that is honest. I don't know what Entertainment Weekly was doing.
Smoking pot. Probably watching it.
But this is true. I mean, like, could you really say that this movie was, as far as the AV Club wrote, this hip-hop themed sequel was inevitable? If you would have told me he was in space in 4, I really don't think I would have said he would have went back down.
Yeah,
in this type of way.
This film takes place before that film.
That's true. There you go. That's right. Oh, wow. You just blew my mind. Wow.
I cannot stop laughing. The fact that person said there's nothing even great about it. Not even one thing. That's the way I felt watching this film.
No.
Brian, I don't think Bill Clinton's brother did music for this film. But the fact that they went to space in the next installment, they're like, oh, we can't do the political satire. That's too out there. You know what would really be great? Let 5 of us write a script with Ice-T a fucking leprechaun smoking a joint in the bathroom. And it was Pumpkinhead. Okay. Uh, the cherry on the, I guess, the top of the sundae is the fact that the guy who directed this was a soft porn director too.
Oh, I would say definitely a
But
literal cherry on top for this one.
yeah, this movie. But there is one thing that stands out about this film. So,
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear.
It's the only film where the leprechaun is not killed. And
interesting.
He wins.
Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting.
In the original series, that is.
E! Online ranked it 8th in their top 10 hilarious stoner movies countdown.
It's not even funny. It's more funny listening to these reviews than it is anything. And it's because I still keep thinking about there's nothing good about this film. Not even one thing.
To be fair, when you're sitting down, I can't imagine, like, even when we rented it, we were looking for scary. We were looking for horror. We were looking for something. We were not looking for comedy. And this sure is. Now I think what has happened is it was so bad that they're like unintentionally funny that they're like, yeah, I did a comedy. You like it? It's funny, right? But it's supposed to thought originally scary. But
so
just remember, there's simply nothing to recommend here. Not even a little.
So they thought this film was so great to decide to go with this.
What the fuck are you? Little early for Halloween, ain't we?
They have me gold.
Oh, it's your gold. Of course, you're a leprechaun. So we'll just hand it over to you.
I'd appreciate it.
Why don't you go home to your mama?
What you say about me, mother?
That was the best line I could find from this second movie. Leprechaun 6 Back to the Hood was released in 2003. It's directed by Stephen Iromolui, who did My Girlfriend's Back and The Fence. It stars Warwick Davis, Tangi Miller, Laz Alonso, Paige Kennedy, and Sherry Jackson. This is the last film in the Leprechaun series to feature Warwick Davis. Tell me what you think about this one.
Okay, let's get some of these reviews. Entertainment Weekly states that it's the worst movie sequels ever. Article writing, if a movie could spark a race riot, this is it. I don't know what that. That's a huge thing. That's I don't know. So that's what Entertainment Weekly said. Warwick Davis, though, again, returns to a movie that is just god awful. I mean, honestly, when you're breaking, and this is where I was worried. It was like, how can you distir like poop from crap and crap from shit and shit? You know what I mean? Like, this is literally, I think, the worst of the 6. I think Space is almost kind of closer to like the movie Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks, like as far as quality compared to this movie. This movie has like this. I want to talk to the director of the last one to see what he thought of this one. Because again, we didn't need to go back to the hood for the second time. And let's be honest, first time we went to the hood, we got Coolio. We got Ice-T. Now we get Laz Alonso, which is fine. I mean, his performance is okay. He is in Constantine. He's in Constantine, so we'll give him some credit. But again, this just isn't working for me. I don't like the overall presentation. Again, why? You go back to the first one when we talked about. We go back to, old man. I forgot his name again at the beginning. Grady. Yes. Look where we've come from that. We've come from Irish accents and Ireland, and you get the Cloverfield. You get all this stuff. To now, he's back in the hood a second time. And you made an interesting statement. And I'm going to leave it with this, and I'm going to throw it back to you. We only had one movie where he was actually in Ireland, but we got two movies where he's in the hood. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
So I've laughed so hard during these reviews because the reviews that you're reading online are just cracking me up. This is the only film in the franchise where we see the leprechaun's bare feet. That's one of the trivia that we get here.
Oh, man.
The movie features a unique box of endless gold that, when emptied and closed, miraculously fills with more gold. So there's that in this film. They made him look darker. I think by the time, in terms of his outfit, making him have like claws and longer hair, they try to give him like a change to his appearance. But I think at this time, Warwick Davis was completely tired of doing the Leprechaun character, and he just decided, the hell with it. I am not going to do this.
Tell.
I'm just going to mail it in, collect my check, because I'm back in the hood, baby.
I'm back in the hood. Oh, my God.
This movie is horrible. And I mean, I usually don't shit on movies that bad, but this one is bad. The movie Tommy Wiseau's The Room is an Oscar winner compared to this film.
You're not wrong about that.
This movie is really, really bad.
Bella!
yeah, it's oh my God. I don't know, man. I can't fathom. I mean, there's lines like "damn clovers" and "an eye for eye, my dear." They try to call back to the original film, which you can't call it. There's not much more I can say about this, man.
Not good. But we do have a little bit of news here. I don't know if you were familiar with. The film was originally set to take place on a tropical island in the midst of spring break. Now that sounds kind of interesting. Though executives at Lionsgate had director and writer Stephen Roy change the location to an urban environment like the previous entry in the series. Yeah, you know what? We got this idea. I mean, let's be honest, okay? Even Police Academy was like, all right, we're going to take this to the beach because, we're on like 5 or 6. They couldn't even do that right. They're like, you know what? We're going to just go back to the hood again.
They could have went to Moscow.
Yes. I would have rather had him mixing it up. Like he could have I mean, dude, he could have been, on a ocean barge. He could have been, he could have worked at a grocery store. He could have been a fisherman. He could have been like gone fishing with Pesci, Danny Glover, and him. It could have been,
oh my God, that movie's
Gone
so bad.
Fishing Leprechaun. He could have been at the Fire Festival. Perfect.
So Brian says the next one should be Fire Festival.
He could have been anywhere. Going back to the hood, especially minus Ice-T, was a bad move. And I think that's why he's not in any more movies after this one.
Yeah, so this concludes the original 6 Leprechaun films. There were 2 other films released. In 2014, WWF or WWE released Leprechaun Origins with Hornswoggle as the Leprechaun. I will say this film is not great. I will say they tried to take Leprechaun in a different direction where they were more like creatures and there was tons of them. And they were attracted to gold. They kind of looked like more like, I guess, I would say like the characters from The Descent. They kind of look like.
They actually do. That's good.
But the film was not good overall. And Hornswoggle, who was getting this big like bump to being the next Leprechaun, he didn't really showcase his acting skills, considering he has one. So what do you think about this one, Tone?
Again, WWE tries to take over studios to try to like give some fresh content. They're gonna throw Hornswiggle into Hornswoggle or whatever into the sorry, I mispronounced Dylan Postle's cheesy name that ruined just whatever. Again, on demand, video on demand.
He didn't ruin franchise, Tone. This franchise was ruined.
No, he did. It wasn't going back to the hood. It wasn't being in sweat space. It was Hornswiggle. No, you're right. This movie, if anything, honestly, it like took the car and literally just moved it that way in the right direction. It didn't move. It just moved it possibly in a good, like, facing in the right direction. I'm a little disappointed because I think if they would have ran with the original concept of the original one with Hornswiggle, they could have quote unquote been back into something that could have been more of a success.
I think they could have too. I think they could have revamped it.
Because going this route is great and all, but what you're trying to do is get people back to the series. And I think what this did was like, now we're getting weird. Like, Back to the Hood was stupid. Now this is weird. Some people could think it's weird and stupid if you look deep enough, you know? So it's like, oh, we had it. And I don't know what happened here, you know?
Yeah.
Here we go. Here, this is what it says. This is from the IGN. Pan the film. Slasher movies of this ilk come with a certain expectation of quality, but even the cheapest, most shoddy productions can manage some thrills, kills, and laughs with memorable characters and a cohesive plot when skilled filmmakers are at the helm. Leprechaun Origins unfortunately offers none of these things. So, if you're looking for memorable characters, cohesive plot, skilled filmmakers at the helm, thrills, kills, laughs, unfortunately, look elsewhere, because this movie has none of them. But
yeah,
you never know.
I mean, I will say this: the way it looks is kind of cool.
That's it. That's why I said they had something, but something went again. You know, back. Let's go back here. Here we go. We only got one writer this time, but nope, does not pay off at all.
Well, I mean, what'd you really expect from WWE Studios, who released classics like No Holds Barred and Slam and what was the other one? Kane's See No Evil. I mean,
no, I make this. Oh, go on. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to make the suggestion to you because this gentleman who directed this movie, he's actually got a movie I'm curious to check out this May of another horror film series. I believe it's going to be the 7th in the entry. He's going to be directing the new Final Destination. So I'm going to be curious. And the trailer that I've seen for that looks pretty solid. Do like those movies for their cheesy quality. But I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm excited to see his work from this be put into that. It's more of like, okay, well, maybe he's going to get back on the good track. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's another film that was released in 2018 called Leprechaun Returns. And I believe this one kind of scraps all the other ones. It just kind of is a straight sequel to the 1993 film. And he looks pretty horrible as he does in the picture I posted for our thumbnail. They took the best part of Leprechaun 1 in Ozzy and they fucking killed him off.
I know
that was very, very heartbreaking. This is another film that it was okay. I would say this film was better than Back to the Hood. I mean, part 1 and 2 and In Space. So this would probably be this is a sequel. This could be the second best film of the series, I would say.
I was not when I'll be honest with you, I was not familiar with this film until you were like, let's do the Leprechaun series. And I was doing research and I was like, there was a Leprechaun Returns. And then I saw on the screen, I go, Warwick came back and I didn't know. And then I looked him up and it wasn't him. It was Lyndon Porco playing the Leprechaun. But again, I watched some of it until I fell asleep because that's what this movie did to me. It tired me out. because it did not, again, it's going to more of the original storyline, but again, there's something shoddy in the production, like in the script. I don't know if it's the production, but it is better. But again, I think a lot of it is like, let's really be honest with one another here. You're going, I mean, when you got just Jennifer Aniston, and then you're moving down to someone named, maybe Taylor Spreetler may become Jennifer Aniston one day. We don't know. But this movie didn't give me those vibes, so we'll have to wait and see.
So, Tone.
Thank you. I always thought I would lost connection again.
No. It's me. So there is this film this is a fan-made film, and I'm going to show you something. I'll show you a little something here. This is at the show exclusive on YouTube.
Nice.
This film is called Leprechaun versus Wishmaster. And this is a person took clips from 2 films and made it into a thing. So I want you guys to watch this. If you're on the audio, listen to it, come back on the YouTube and watch this. And I want you to tell me, would you go see this film?
Power to power. You've much to learn. Taller or shorter. I'll make you burn.
Let's see what you got, tough guy.
Leprechaun versus Wishmaster.
You won the battle. The war goes on.
You can't hurt me. You're all out of wishes.
Now, Tony, would you go see that film?
Yeah, as long as you're with me, so we can have some laughs.
So, but the way that film was the build-up. They used scenes from the Wishmaster series and scenes from the Leprechaun series,
Money.
which kind of looked like they were kind of in the same film, the way they set it up.
Yeah.
So it looked more interesting than the shit we talked about for the past hour with Leprechaun 2 through the newer ones. And when I first saw that, I'm like, what? There's a really Leprechaun versus Wishmaster? And of course, it was, I believe, a April Fool's joke. But I would have went to go see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I like Warwick Davis, but it's great. Just take my money. I love it.
That's what Brian says. Brian says he would go too. Brian also said that Leprechaun 17 takes place in Twin Pines Mall parking lot in 1985.
Oh, I like that one.
But yeah, the new Leprechaun Returns. The only good, it was better than the most, but I mean, the bar is so low. He looks like shit in this film, though. I don't like the way the Leprechaun looks. I do not like the way the Leprechaun looks in Leprechaun Returns. He looks horrible. But I will say
this one was like, if I'm not mistaken, it was like released on like the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah,
like during
during
the St. Patrick's Day time.
Yeah. When I saw Ozzy get killed, I'm like, man, Ozzy's killed, and then they make him into a ghost later. It just, I don't know. This movie is not good, but it's better than the other ones, which is kind of a low bar. But if you want to see that clip that I played, just look up Leprechaun versus Wishmaster on YouTube, and you can see the trailer. It's like a minute long. I just played it for us on the show. You want to check it out on the show. Tony, that wraps up our Leprechaun review. Any final thoughts?
You talked about, again, back to the Oscars and being cheated. It's hard. It's hard when they do, only so many best supporting actors, and Mark Holton did not get one for the original Leprechaun. Honestly, to be fair, since we brought up Mark Holton, I really feel like he should have won for his portrayal with John Wayne Gacy. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen that horrible movie. Yeah. I like Mark Holton, though. I think he's
He is. I like
Good
Mark
actor.
Holden a lot, actually. And
He's
honestly,
Chubbs, man. He's Chubbs from Teen Wolf.
fucking Teen Wolf's one of my favorite movies. I have a jersey from someone right over here who gave it to me in the comments. My Beavers jersey. It's hanging in my closet. Brian, he gave me his Beavers jersey, and I'll always remember Brian for thank you, Brian, for giving me your Beavers jersey. Sorry about that.
I didn't.
So that is our Leprechaun series.
Great little fun time. Great series to go through during this time of the year. And honestly, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I laughed probably the most I've ever laughed at any show I've ever done. Just hearing those comments and your analysis of this. So if you haven't seen them, and I don't know why you would want to, but check out the Leprechaun series. Also, we have a challenge out there. If you can watch all 15 Puppet Master films, come on the show and give us good or bad things about each film. You will get an at the show package that Tony will design for you. It's something good. Believe me, Tony does come up with some good stuff. So, and we'll showcase you on the show. So let us know. Hit us up on the DMs and the Twitters or on the Blue Sky has messages now or on the Blue Sky.
Do they? Cool.
Yeah. Before we get into the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, I just want to say thank you everyone for listening. I also want to dedicate this episode because I know he would really appreciate it to my buddy Mark. He was an older guy who caught on to listening to our show. He's one of my Masonic brothers. He saw that I was posting this on Facebook and he actually would watch our show and talk to me about it, which was kind of funny because he's an older guy. He's 71. He passed away recently, so gonna miss him. And I know he would have loved to listen to this episode because he was really into bad movies. So this is right up his alley. So I hate to end it on a somber note there, but this is for Mark. Appreciate it and gonna miss you, buddy. But Tone, do you want to get into your Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, my friend?
Let's do it.
The Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week.
All right, tonight we are going for a little bit of a different soundtrack because generally every soundtrack I've picked has been a conglomerate of a bunch of artists that mixed together to come up with, the songs for the soundtrack. In this regard, for the movie She's the One, Tom Petty used this as a new album. So the She's the One soundtrack is considered a Tom Petty album as a whole because Tom Petty does all the songs on the soundtrack. It was released back when the movie first was released, which was back in 1996. It is a movie. It is a Tom Petty album that honestly kind of gets lost a little bit in the fold because there isn't some of those big hits that you're familiar with Tom with. It is actually a very hugely introspective record. Tom at the time was dealing with a lot of personal trauma, dealing with addiction and other different things. And in the songs, especially lead off track Walls, which is pretty much the only song that he played a lot live after the release of the album, which also has Lindsey Buckingham on background vocals on it, kind of shows a little bit more of a vulnerable side of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, which was different for the time for them. But again, a soundtrack that is deep in nature. There is 15 songs on it, which is really, really a lot of songs for a soundtrack, and they're all from one band. But the movie itself isn't memorable. But the soundtrack itself is just, it's hugely important for a lot of different reasons, because I think an artist of Tom Petty's stature at the time, he didn't need to do a soundtrack for a movie at all, let alone a movie like She's the One, a movie that might not be remembered forever as like something, or maybe that's not even what he was thinking about. He was just asked and did it for a friend. But the interesting thing is that it really also shows some different things for the band too. It was the first time that he was able to work with a new drummer, Steve Ferroni, who took the place of original Heartbreakers drummer Stan Lynch. There were also some of the songs that were part of this soundtrack that were originally on the Wildflowers intended to be album. But again, it is the only album to again not have what would be known as an official drummer, which is unique for Tom Petty because he always on every other release had an official drummer in the band. Rick Rubin, who's been talked about a lot, has produced the album, and it's just a really good, deep Tom Petty piece of work. So if you have not listened to it, check it out.
Yeah, I am definitely going to have to check this out. I never heard of the movie.
Yeah,
To
the
be honest
movie
with you.
is honestly, I couldn't really honestly, to even be fair, I need to watch the movie too because I couldn't tell you anything about the movie either. And listening to the soundtrack this week and doing research, I have to tell myself that there's got to be something to the movie. If it's because most of these situations, like where an artist will do the full soundtrack like this, they're going to show him some of the movie before he's going to put the songs together because it needs to match up. So I'll check it out. Just
Probably
like
Burner Crow, doubt it.
another movie I have not watched since it being in the movie theater that I saw was Wishmaster. Now I want to watch Wishmaster.
Yeah, it's got the guy from Small Toy Soldiers in there, the bad guy.
Heck yeah.
This film I have not seen. I am a huge fan of Tom Petty. I actually have his greatest hits on vinyl. He is one of the biggest regrets for me not to have seen live.
Well, I wish I could take you back to, I think it was 2000 and 2001 at Tinley Park. I would have picked you up.
Yeah, I wish I would have went to that.
They opened up the show with Running Down the Dream. I'll never forget it. It was awesome.
Yeah,
but again, it's one of those things that you never really know. I'll always remember I was on a walk and I was just enjoying my day. And then the DJ on XRT came on and was like, "We got some sad news. We've lost Tom Petty." And I was like, "What? No, there's just so much more." And then, that's how it is.
Yeah, I'd look at it this way. I mean, I didn't get to see him, but I did get to see the last two original members of the Doors perform.
That's cool.
Robbie Krieger and Ray Manzarek.
That would be awesome. Even you get to see Ray Manzarek play is awesome.
Yeah. But one of my I guess things I probably never could. Maybe I'll see him when we're at the pearly gates. But Tom Petty's awesome. I do love his Super Bowl performance with the Heartbreakers.
That was good.
I really enjoyed that. And that doesn't get talked about a lot, but I
really great on King of the Hill.
Yes, he is. He's
what
also
do you think
great
about him in The Postman?
Yeah, I was about to tell you. He's in The Postman. He's like, "Weren't you famous?" He's like, "I was at one time. Not as famous as you, man." But yeah, Tom Petty's the man. I definitely will check out this album. I don't know if I watched the movie though, but I will check out the album. Good pick though, Tone. I love how you find these rare gems to find. Mailman Jack says, "I love in the liner notes. Edward Burns is listed as a court wrangler."
Yes.
Mailman Jack bringing out the quotes, man.
Yes.
But that is our episode for today. We'll release what we're going to do next week. So check us out on the X or Blue Sky. As I said before, for the At the Mini Show, it's kind of hard to do those shows when there's not a lot of big news during the week. So I don't want to throw small stories at you guys and just have it be boring, unless you want to hear us talk about Leprechaun again. But once something big drops, like we have a big news week, we will drop that. Or we'll just mix it into the regular show. But At the Mini Show hasn't gone away. Tony, what's going on at the Hookup on Music, my friend?
Tomorrow, just today, brand new album by My Morning Jacket dropped. Listened to the full thing already. It's amazing. Going to talk about that. Got a lot of other really cool things. If you haven't listened to last week's, go back and check that out. Talked about such artists as Susie and the Banshees, which was really cool to dig a little bit deeper into that. New artists like Sam Fender, if you haven't listened to him, he's really awesome. Just kind of trying to just dig into different stuff, and really excited because some really cool shows are coming up. It's getting warm outside, and it's almost time for concert season.
Yep. And I will be down to go listen to some live music with you. I'm pretty sure our wives will be down with that. Maybe have a cold beverage and some food.
Yes.
Also, be sure to check out the Drafty Pod. It came back this week. It was the Draft Master Brian S. along with Herb Lawrence and Sox Machine Josh Nelson. They did a draft of the 2025 Major League Baseball rosters, who they would pick on their teams. I released a bunch of clips on them. Josh going off on the White Sox is always fun. Herb's insight is always great. Check that out. He just released that this Tuesday, and he's going to have another Drafty Pod this Sunday, I believe, with Bruhan Luke and who else, Brian?
It was Nick
Morawski. Yes, Nick Morawski of Sox and Sober and the Good Guys Talk Back. Great podcaster and good guy, Nick Morawski. And then you have Luke, who is our college football expert over here on the Sadistic Penguin Studios. I would love to see Luke just go crazy about Oregon again. Mailman Jackson.
Please let us know, Jack, because I was reading actually yesterday, that they played a show in LA that was sold out, and they had guests come on the stage like Ed Helms. Came out and played banjo for one song. The band Dawes came out, so you'll have to let me know if anyone cool and special comes out, because the new songs are sounding really good.
Yes, that was in response to Mailman Jack saying he's going to see Mumford and Sons. Maybe we'll have Jack come back for a special delivery for that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But that is our show. Again, if you hear me laughing in this show, it's because I could not handle the Sugar Baggies reading of the reviews for these movies and his facial expressions. But this is a really fun show, my man. We'll see you guys next week. Be sure to check out Sadistic Penguin Studios. If you haven't liked or subscribed, be sure to do that. We're getting the creepy lectures close to the 1,000. It'd be great to hit that in our second year here on the YouTubes. And check out the Drafty Pod and Hook Up on Music this week. With that, everybody have a good night.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?